affirming that God is about to release from his mind the proper ideas needed in the business. Following the quiet period, all start talking, pouring out ideas that have come to their minds. Memos of the ideas are written upon cards and thrown on the table. No one is permitted to criticize any idea at this particular juncture, for argument might stop the flow of creative thought. The cards are gathered up and each one is evaluated at a later session, but this is the idea tapping session, stimulated by prayer power. When this practice was inaugurated, a high percentage of the ideas suggested proved to be without particular value, but as the sessions continued the percentage of good ideas increased. Now many of the best suggestions which have later demonstrated their practical value were evolved in the idea session. As one of the executives explained, we have come up with insights that not only show on our balance sheet, but we have also gained a new feeling of confidence. Moreover, there is a deeper feeling of fellowship among the four of us, and this has spread to others in the organization. Whereas the old-fashioned businessman who says that religion is theoretical and has no place in business. Today any successful and competent businessman will employ the latest and best tested methods in production, distribution, and administration, and many are discovering that one of the greatest of all efficiency methods is prayer power. Alert people everywhere are finding that by trying prayer power they feel better, work better, do better, sleep better, are better. My friend Grove Patterson, editor of the Toledo Blade, is a man of remarkable vigor. He says that his energy results, in part at least, from his methods of prayer. For example, he likes to fall asleep while praying, for he believes that his subconscious is most relaxed at that time. It is in the subconscious that our life is largely governed. If you drop a prayer into the subconscious at the moment of its greatest relaxation, the prayer has a powerful effect. Mr. Patterson chuckled as he said, "Once it worried me, because I would fall asleep while praying. Now I actually try to have it so." Many unique methods of prayer have come to my attention, but one of the most effective is that advocated by Frank Laubach in his excellent book, Prayer, the Mightiest Power in the World. I regard this as one of the most practical books on prayer, for it outlines fresh prayer techniques that work. Dr. Laubach believes that actual power is generated by prayer. One of his methods is to walk down the street and shoot prayers at people. He calls this type of praying flash prayers. He bombards passers-by with prayers, sending out thoughts of goodwill and love. He says that people passing him on the street as he shoots prayers at them often turn around and look at him and smile. They feel the emanation of a power like electrical energy. In a bus he shoots prayers at his fellow passengers. Once he was sitting behind a man who seemed to be very gloomy. He had noticed when he entered the bus that the man had a scowl on his face. He began to send out toward him prayers of goodwill and faith, conceiving of these prayers as surrounding him and driving into his mind. Suddenly the man began to stroke the back of his head, and when he left the bus the scowl was gone and a smile had replaced it. Dr. Laubach believes that he has often changed the entire atmosphere of a car or bus full of people by the process of swishing love and prayers all around the place. In a Pullman Club car a half-intoxicated man was quite boorish and rude, talking in an overbearing manner and generally making himself obnoxious. I felt that everyone in the car took a dislike to him. Halfway down the car from him, I determined to try Frank Laubach's method. So I started to pray for him, meanwhile visualizing his better self and sending out thoughts of goodwill toward him. Presently, for no seemingly apparent reason, the man turned in my direction, gave me a most disarming smile, and raised his hand in the gesture of salute. His attitude changed, and he became quiet. I have every reason to believe that the prayer thoughts effectively reached out toward him. It is my practice, before making a speech to any audience, to pray for the people present, and to send out thoughts of love and goodwill toward them. Sometimes I select out of the audience one or two people who seem to be either depressed or even antagonistic, and send my prayer thoughts and goodwill attitude specifically toward them. Recently addressing a Chamber of Commerce annual dinner in a southwestern city, I noted a man in the audience who seemed to be scowling at me. It was altogether possible that his facial expression was not in any way related to me, but he seemed antagonistic. Before starting to speak I prayed for him, and shot a series of prayers and goodwill thoughts in his direction. As I spoke, I continued to do this. When the meeting was over, while shaking hands with those around me, suddenly my hand was caught in a tremendous clasp, and I was looking into the face of this man. He was smiling broadly. "Frankly, I did not like you when I came to this meeting," he said. "I do not like preachers and saw no reason for having you, a minister, a speaker at our Chamber of Commerce dinner. I was hoping that your speech would not be successful. However, as you spoke something seemed to touch me. I feel like a new person. I had a strange sense of peace and doggone it, I like you. It was not my speech that had this effect. It was the emanation of prayer power. In our brains we have about 2 billion little storage batteries. The human brain can send off power by thoughts and prayers. The human body's magnetic power has actually been tested. We have thousands of little sending stations, and when these are tuned up by prayer, it is possible for a tremendous power to flow through a person, and to pass between human beings. We can send off power by prayer, which acts as both a sending and receiving station. There was a man, an alcoholic, with whom I had been working. He had been dry, as the Alcoholics Anonymous term it, for about 6 months. He was on a business trip, and one Tuesday afternoon about 4 o'clock I had a strong impression that he was in trouble. This man dominated my thoughts. I felt something drawing me, so I dropped everything and started praying for him. I prayed for about a whole hour, then the impression seemed to let up, and I discontinued my prayers. A few days later he telephoned me. "I have been in Boston all week," he said, "and I want you to know I am still dry, but early in the week I had a very hard time." "Was it on Tuesday at 4 o'clock?" I asked. Astonished, he replied, "Why, yes. How did you know? Who told you?" "Nobody told me," I replied. "That is, no human told me." I described my feelings concerning him on Tuesday 4 o'clock, and told about praying for him for half an hour. He was astounded, and explained, "I was at the hotel and stopped in front of the bar. I had a terrible struggle with myself. I thought of you, for I needed help badly right then, and I started to pray. Those prayers starting out from him reached me, and I began to pray for him. Both of us joining in prayer, completed the circuit and reached God, and the man got his answer in the form of strength to meet the crisis." And what did he do? He went to a drugstore, bought a box of candy, and ate all of it without stopping. That pulled him through. He declared prayer and candy. A young married woman admitted she was filled with hate, jealousy, and resentment toward neighbors and friends. She was also very apprehensive, always worrying about her children, whether they would be sick, or get into an accident, or fail in school. Her life was a pathetic mixture of dissatisfaction, fear, hate, and unhappiness. I asked her if she ever prayed. She said, "Only when I get so up against it that I am just desperate, but I must admit that prayer doesn't mean anything to me, so I don't pray very often." Suggested that the practice of real prayer could change her life, and gave her some instructions in sending out love thoughts instead of hate thoughts and confidence thoughts instead of fear thoughts. Suggested that every day at the time for the children to come home from school she pray, and make her prayers an affirmation of God's protective goodness. Doubtful at first, she became one of the most enthusiastic advocates and practices of prayer I have ever known. She avidly reads books and pamphlets, and practices every effective prayer power technique. This procedure revamped her life, as is illustrated by the following letter which she wrote me recently. "I feel that my husband and I have both made wonderful progress in the last few weeks. My greatest progress dates from the night you told me that every day is a good day if you pray. I began to put into practice the idea of affirming that this would be a good day the minute I woke up in the morning, and I can positively say that I have not had a bad or upsetting day since that time. The amazing thing is that my days actually haven't been any smoother or any more free from petty annoyances than they ever were, but they just don't seem to have the power to upset me anymore. Every night I begin my prayers by listing all the things for which I am grateful, little things that happened during the day which added to the happiness of my day. I know that this habit has geared my mind to pick out the nice things and forget the unpleasant ones. The fact that for 6 weeks I have not had a single bad day and have refused to get downhearted with anyone is really marvelous to me." She discovered amazing power in trying prayer power. You can do the same. Following are 10 rules for getting effective results from prayer. 1. Set aside a few minutes every day. Do not say anything. Simply practice thinking about God. This will make your mind spiritually receptive. 2. Then pray orally, using simple, natural words. Tell God anything that is on your mind. Do not think you must use stereotype bias phrases. Talk to God in your own language. He understands it. 3. Pray as you go about the business of the day, on the subway or bus, or at your desk. Utilize minute prayers by closing your eyes to shut out the world and concentrating briefly on God's presence. The more you do this every day, the nearer you will feel God's presence. 4. Do not always ask when you pray, but instead affirm that God's blessings are being given, and spend most of your prayers giving thanks. 5. Pray with the belief that sincere prayers can reach out and surround your loved ones with God's love and protection. 6. Never use a negative thought in prayer. Only positive thoughts get results. 7. Always express willingness to accept God's will. Ask for what you want, but be willing to take what God gives you. It may be better than what you ask for. 8. Practice the attitude of putting everything in God's hands. Ask for the ability to do your best, and to leave the results confidently to God. 9. Pray for people you do not like, or who have mistreated you. Resentment is blockade number 1 of spiritual power. 10. Make a list of people for whom to pray. The more you pray for other people, especially those not connected with you, the more prayer results will come back to you. Footnotes 1 Guide to Confident Living. Prentice Hall Incorporated, 1948. How to create your own happiness. Who decides whether you shall be happy or unhappy? The answer: you do. A television celebrity had as a guest on his program an aged man